saying, okay, I want to kind of hold a gold coin and I want to hold a silver bar, right? It felt like treasure, right? Exactly. You feel something inside of you. Over the last 2 years, people have lost thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs.
Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Tiger Stacker. Today, I have for the first time a guest to the channel. He's not a guest to me for the first time, and not to many of you, because you've seen him on other channels, especially Yankee Stacking. He's helped me with my small retirement plan and also applying for and getting a student loan forgiveness after 20 years of paying on it. He is a stacker, but also a master at understanding stock markets and trading. Since I've seen him multiple times refer to his charts, I'm just now starting to understand. What do you expect? I'm a physician, not a businessman.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. I'm a doctor, not an engineer. I'm a doctor, not a mechanic. I'm a doctor, not a coal miner. I'm a doctor, not an escalator.
But let's face it, we are all facing potential SHTF, whether it's global, national, or like in my case, personal. We need to understand money in all of its form. Yes, gold and silver is sound money, and we all need to hold it physically. But his charts also involve prices of precious metals and other commodities. We need to know when to get in and when to get out. He has been affiliated with Blackstone Commodities Group, now Bullionite Asset Group. Please keep in mind, we are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. Do your own due diligence in making your decisions on where to place your hard-earned money. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my guest for the first time on this channel, Mukarram Mawjood. Welcome, Mukarram.
Hi, Tiger Stacker. It's been a while since you and I spoke, and I am so glad to see that you have a channel going and a good following happening. And I see that you're excited. I love that,
I've been excited ever since I woke up in 2021 and started stacking, and then found people like Yankee and then you and a number of others.
No, I said it's great. That's why it's great to be back and talking to different precious metal stackers as well. Lots happened in the markets, right? So I'm sure there's a lot that we can talk about.
There is. Before we get started, I want to tell you that I'm just now starting to understand some of macroeconomics. My expertise has been in medicine, period. Medicine does not lead one to being business-wise or financially successful. So as we get into this, I want people who are like me to start getting their head wrapped around this so that they can become as successful and as knowledgeable as possible. And you are the man to do it.
Thank you, Tiger. I mean, yeah, hopefully with God's grace, we can help a lot of people understand the shifting trends that we're seeing in the markets right now. There's a lot going on. And a lot of the clients, who are in metals with us, when we started building these positions, they became significantly profitable, right? So we knew kind of when to start building those positions, even people who've been following different channels, Yankee Stacking, all of that stuff that we've done, we've helped clients with. And then there was a time when we kind of eased out of gold, right? And then got into silver before the big run that silver did. So we started building positions in gold around that 1800, 2000 mark, and then started getting out of gold around the high 3000s to early 4000s. And that's when a lot of people were concerned because gold kept going up every week after that, right? Kept going up. But what's interesting is because of our math models, we then went into silver between the 32 and 35 range. And for some time, people were frustrated because silver was not going anywhere. Right? It was sideways. And then we knew we had confidence in our math models. And then when it broke that 50, you saw the explosion that it had. Now, obviously, after that big run, that outsized movement, the recommendation is to take profits. And we've been taking profits in silver and then going into a couple of the different areas that we believe have that next big run coming.
My first question to you is, I've always known you to be affiliated with Blackstone Commodities. However, my Google search showed me that you are now the Chief Investing Officer of Bullionite Asset Group. How did the change come about?
It's just a name change. That's what it is, So Blackstone Commodity Group has been there for a significant period of time, right? I've been helping build the company and all of our alternative asset portfolios. But then with Bullionite being like, I'm known as the Bullionite because of all the trading education and all the trades that I do, right? Because I'm a trader as well in the markets. I trade all the different big, massive global markets, right? So once that kind of question keeps coming up. Okay, Bullionite and Blackstone Commodity Group, Bullionite. What we thought was we'll do a name change where there is an alignment with the brand, right? So the Bullionite brand. So that's why the alternative asset firm, the firm that invests in alternative assets like physical precious metals, real estate, cryptocurrency, whatever that you can do with alternative assets, right? That is called Bullionite Asset Group. And anything to do with the trading education, going over the trading examples we have, or having different webinars about trading, that happens through Bullionite, right? So Bullionite Asset Group is the alternative asset investment firm. So if you ever have an IRA that you want to protect, or you have, or some of your audience members, they want to protect the IRA with precious metals or other alternative assets, then Bullionite Asset Group is the company that'll do that. And then the trading education and helping people understand what's going on in the markets on a bigger scale happens with Bullionite.
One of the reasons people like me love your advice is that you're also a stacker of precious metals. Unlike most financial advisors who want to keep us in fiat products only. How did you get to become different on this topic?
Well, I mean, we have to go back like maybe a decade or so, right? Or maybe more than a decade, where like I started out, like going back 20 years, I started out as a futures trader, right? Commodities futures, all that. So I traded crude oil futures, gold futures. So it's all paper heavy at that time. But then as 2008, 2009 happened, right? And we were helping a lot of our clients kind of understand what's going on in the stock market when it was dropping. And then that big run in gold happened when it went from $680 or so to about $1,900. And then silver had that big run. We were part of that run, when it went from $16.50 to about $49.50, right? At that time, I was curious and I started like saying, okay, I want to kind of hold a gold coin and I want to hold a silver bar, right? And even though before that I've done that, but when I really started like buying some actual physical precious metals, it felt like treasure, right? Exactly. Like the coin that you're holding right now, that Indian head, or if you have a gold eagle or a St. Gordon coin or, Liberties, whichever one it is, when you hold it, especially gold eagles or Britannias or Philharmonics are so beautiful. It changed. You feel something inside of you, and you feel the realness of money. There you go. That's a Philharmonic coin. I love that coin. It's so beautiful when you look at it, right?
Yes.
And then since then, like around 2011, 2012, I've been stacking gold because physical gold, I believe in physical commodities because I trade crude oil and then physical gold, physical silver. And that's why I have a very interesting kind of personal experience with physical metals as I talk about, stocks or commodities or paper assets as well, because I am a stacker myself. I love physical metals. I believe in the cycle of metals. Now, the difference between myself and maybe other physical stackers is I do believe in getting in and getting out and following a cycle, because I bring my trading knowledge into building a position in physical metals and then getting out of it once it gets to a point where we believe we've made an outsized return. That's where a lot of physical metals purchasers that I've realized differ, because sometimes they don't know when to get out or they keep buying and buying as a legacy purchase, right? But whereas for us, we will go from one metal to another and then come back to another metal once that cycle is over. So I think that's where we can really help physical metal stackers with that kind of an approach, because that'll also increase the net worth of their investments over time.
As you well know, gold and silver and platinum and palladium took a serious increase with a big pullback, maybe even considered a crash. And it's not so long ago was sitting between the then 100 and 200 day moving average, but that's recently changed as well. Is this manipulation, geopolitical conflict, something else? What do you think the cause of this is?
Well, I think this is I love that question because there's different layers to that question. And I want to make sure that we give the most value to someone who's watching this show with us, right? And the first thing is, I know a lot of people start screaming out manipulation, especially when silver was going up significantly, like that $10 days up or $15 day up. They're like, oh my God, there's this manipulation once it started coming back down. But I think what what we want to clear up here is that this is a rule in the market. When something gets to go parabolic, you have to become cautious. Okay. And that's because, so silver, let's take silver as an example. Silver was sitting between 32 and 35 for a long time, right? At least, and at one time it even came to 28 and then went to 35, sat there. But then suddenly when it broke 40, it started to see that momentum come in. Now, the first magnet or the first target was the 2011 high, which was 49.5. And you saw it. It went there, then it came back down to about 42 or 44, and then kind of consolidated, broke that high, and then just kept going. Now, here's what's interesting. Up until October of last year, and I can go back 15 years from there, right? I can go back to 2009, 2011, 2016, all of these mini bull runs we've had. Up until October of last year, silver never ran up $3 or $4 within a day or a week, ever. Okay. But then after October, it started going up $8 in 15 minutes. That's when you got to start paying attention. In the beginning stages of a parabolic market, that's great because it's momentum, it's a lot of energy, and the market wants to go. But then suddenly when you saw $15 in a day, that's the sign. And I always say this, and I've shared this on different channels I've been on. I've said when a market begins to act like a 2-year-old child, it's either a topping signal or a bottoming signal. And when silver went to 120 and came to 110 and then went to 115 and came to 95, that's the signal that it's topped out. So going back to your original question, none of these markets, Tiger, like gold coming down from 5,500 or silver coming down from 100 and change, is because of manipulation. There could be some percentages of that, but the main reason is they've had an outsized movement. A lot of them went parabolic, and therefore markets that are the highest profitability are the ones that get taken out when a crisis shows up. So when, everyone was surprised when you had the the Iran-Israel conflict, and then the United States got involved, and then the bombing started happening. Everyone was like, why is gold coming down? Why is silver coming down? Because that's the one that's the most profitable if you're holding it, right? So you want to get out of the most profitable asset and protect your profits. And that's why the hedge funds and all the big holders were getting out, because they're like, well, I don't want to lose $30 in silver or $1,000 in gold. And at that time, people laughed at me when gold could drop $1,000, because I remember gold went up $1,000 in a week. In a week, it went from 4,500 to 5,500. That was also the time for it to come down. Now gold's in a range. I getting into gold right now makes a lot of sense, but silver, not yet. Silver still has more room. Okay, we'll talk about that. But that's the first reason. Whenever an asset, and it doesn't matter, you can replace gold and silver with an XYZ asset. Whatever asset that's gone up for a year and a half or 2 years. And in silver's case, it went from October to February. From October to February, it went from $50 to 110. Come on, you got to take it. You got to take that profit, And so that's the reason. I wouldn't call this a crash. I know people, who are against precious metals or who are not fans of precious metals really want to jump on this bandwagon right now, right? And calling it a crash, and it's depressing. And oh my God, we told you so. I saw all these ads out there, but it's not really. It's just a reset of a new normal. I don't think you'll see, way lower prices for metals, but you will see higher, elevated new normal prices. And then from there, a consolidation and a new cycle that'll start, right? I also like platinum. Platinum has a lot of supply deficit issues, right? Just like silver did, but platinum has a lot of above ground supply deficit issues. The reason being is because a lot of their mining is in just 2 countries, right? South Africa and another country in South America, pretty much. So that's why platinum on this correction is attractive to me. Right now, platinum is a little bit more illiquid than gold, and therefore you'll see larger corrections, both upwards and downwards, right? So none of this I consider it a crash. I don't think it's a manipulation. I just think it's just common sense investing, common sense profit taking, because there's an old adage in the market that if you don't take profits, the markets will take it from you.
That makes a lot of sense. I've seen that. What do you use when you start evaluating different commodities, such as precious metals, oil, other things? Is it the technicals, the financials, the job reports? What?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of them, right? So pretty much financials, jobs report, all that come into what's called fundamental information. And then the technicals is all the math, right? Like the moving averages, the charts, the historic information, the historic prices. So the way I've learned, like there are some people who are just pure technicians. They just look at the math. And there are some people who are pure fundamentalists, meaning like they'll just find out everything they can about a company or about an asset, and then they'll make their own formulations based on that or speculations based on that. I come from the camp where I believe the strongest way to approach when you build positions or when you decide when to move positions is to be a fusion of both a fundamental analysis of fundamental analysis and technical analysis. That actually makes you a much better, more well-rounded approach to the market. So that's kind of how I do it. So for example, we can break something down, like let's say if it's silver, right? Like there's supply issues, AI data centers, it's a metal that's needed in AI, rare earths, which is something that we do for clients as well, the AI revolution that's going on. So that's the fundamental side of thing, right? AI data centers. We're not talking about NVIDIA or TSM. Those are all semiconductor companies benefit from the AI wave, but we're talking about the actual raw commodity that's needed, like rare earths, rare earth minerals, right? These are needed for the AI revolution, silver. So then after that, then you look at the chart. Like for example, when I look at the silver chart, I'm cautious. That's why we've been telling people, hey, it's time to get out of silver, get out of silver. The ones who are in the 70s and 80s, like people who bought it in the 30s and 40s, they should be taking profit like, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. But now somewhere, people who have never gotten in, yeah, prices are becoming more attractive. It'll probably, maybe there is another possibility for another second wave down. And then that might be one of the best spots to get in, especially with larger amounts. Gold is already showing its levels for us right now. But that's kind of how I do it. I look at the math, I look at the charts, then I look at the fundamentals. The other thing I look at is there are some bellwether commodities like copper, right? So if copper breaks out like it did about a few months ago, it's in that 6.5 handle right now, and then comes down just below 6, goes back over 6. This is the futures contract price I'm just talking about. I feel like there's a big cycle in copper that's coming, but it's being affected by the war. And a lot of people think, oh, war means safe haven, safe haven. No, sometimes wars could mean a recession, because especially an energy crisis related war, right? A lot of people don't understand that 20% of the oil goes from the Strait of Hormuz, right? Mm-hmm. And 20 million barrels of oil a day. We have a very large network around the world. We have feet on the ground in Asia, people like that. So what we're noticing is countries like Singapore, which used to be economic tigers, Singapore, Hong Kong is part of China right now, but before they were on their own when they were under the British, right? Then Malaysia and Taiwan, they're all having significant energy problems. Philippines went to a 4-day week or a 3-day week a month and a half ago, right? Because their energy reserves are going down. This energy crisis is bigger than what people think it is. A lot of it has been masked so that it doesn't show up. But that's one of the concerns for a metal like silver. Or copper, because if there's a war-related recession that comes into play, then you could see some of those metals take a hit. The other part is on the stock market side. That's why you're seeing some sell-offs happening, right? The AI sector the AI sector is like a bubble right now. Significantly high valuations. SpaceX IPO was at a ridiculous valuation, right? There without any revenue or anything that of that sort. So that's why I think you're seeing a reset that's happening. It doesn't mean it's a crash. It's just a reset for a new normal of an elevated price.
Thank you. So in a continuation of that type of discussion, do you also look at leaderships, managers, change of leadership of managers, inventories, things like that?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about management or leadership, I think a lot of that goes into like the stock side of things, right? Like, let's say if you're looking at gold mine or you're looking at silver miners, they're not all created equal. You know that they're not all created equally. Plus also when you have supply disruptions, especially with key elements like fuel and oil and diesel, certain miners are not doing as well as others, right? This is why I always say, buy the physical metal, not the miner, right? Because the physical metal is the horse that pulls the carriage. The carriage can, break down and come off, but the horse can keep galloping. Okay. And that's the reason why I prefer the physical metal over the paper miner or the stock the miners are. Now, that doesn't mean that miners can't go up, but you've seen miners take a bigger hit recently as gold's come down and as silver's come down. But I don't really when it comes to the actual physical commodity, I don't look at management or anything like that. But when I look at the stock, I would definitely look at that. Now, when you're talking about inventory, I would say I would look at supply deficits, like for example with platinum. Then I would consider those, and then the countries and what kind of political disruptions. But when you talk about leadership, I think that's a very interesting question because the political scene right now is very important in shaping how some things can perform. Right. Because we have we have a lot, like a higher volatile political environment right now that's going on, a larger, more intense, sudden like events that are flaring up, right? We had the Venezuela event, then Cuba, and now Iran. Then, it's a back and forth in Iran. I mean, I've made a lot of comments on that war that's going on right now. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in that area, and even today, like in the last 2 days, big flare up again, right? Like rockets and then attacks again in ports. Today, there's an attack in Kuwait, in Bahrain. We follow all of these things because we trade all the commodities, right? And that's why I'm saying I think we should pay attention to leadership and in terms of what the philosophy of the leadership is, like especially in our country for the next 2 years or so. Midterms are coming up, right, in a couple of months.
True.
We need to pay attention to that and then see how do we trade around that, because you can't fight certain things. You can't keep saying and giving I don't know why this happened. Well, you just have to understand, what does this leadership want? How do you trade with that leadership? How do you what sectors do you think you can make money with? What sectors should you get out of so you don't lose money and you don't lose half of your retirement if there's a big stock market crash or a recession, a war-induced recession or a global recession that can actually, come across the pond. So there's a lot of things like that you want to pay attention to.
Thank you. I got a very interesting question here. When you get a new client that is not as knowledgeable in the trading sector, how do you guide them to become more successful and then, more importantly, later more knowledgeable so they are not a novice anymore?
Well, I mean, I treat every client as a unique interaction, right, that I have with them. So usually when I first, get to talk to a client, whether they call me on the office line, they talk to my executive assistant or to me directly and then schedule an appointment, or they come from a show like yours or some other shows I do, I first spend a good, half an hour with them on the phone once the appointment is set, where I kind of I want to understand where they're coming from. What do they want to accomplish? What have they not done in a way that hasn't gotten them to where they want to be right now in terms of their investments or their goals that they have, right? And that'll give me an insight onto what needs to be done. Like someone will say, hey, I have an IRA and I have a previous 401k. And I was talking to someone about 2 weeks ago when they said, since 2019, they've only gotten a 5% a year return on their IRA. And I'm like, where is it invested? He goes, it's all in stocks. Well, why is the stock market gone from 25,000 to 52,000 and you've only made 5% every year, or the Nasdaq's gone from 6,000 to 32,000 and he said, it's all in tech stock. Well, then something's wrong, right? That's the problem with traditional IRAs. That's why, we give a very easy way for someone to transfer money from an existing IRA into a self-directed IRA and then have alternative assets in there that can perform, like silver performed, like gold performed, right? Like the next one could be copper, like different things. And so once we do that initial kind of really getting to know and finding out exactly what the client is looking for, the next step is do something like that, like where, we set up a self-directed IRA, then they can transfer their funds from their existing IRA or a previous 401k or even an existing 401k if they're older than 59 and a half, because you can do an in-service rollover, no taxes, no penalties, because if you do it in a protocoled way, we have a team that can help you with that. Once that comes in, then depending on the amount, we figure out, hey, how do we grow this? So I'll give you an example. Sometimes a client would come to me with like 400,000 or 200,000 or 500,000. And then they'll be like, hey, I want to get it to like over 1 million or 2 million over the next few years. So how did we do this? We first got into gold, then we changed it into silver because silver will allow us to have more metal. So when silver, we did that 2 times return, right? A $500,000 account now is worth 1.2 or 1.4. And then we got out before this big drop, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that, we're getting out at the exact top or no, because we have confirmation signals signals and we have to wait for that. And once that happens, we'll do that. But that's the next step. You start with us, we get the funds transferred, we set up an IRA, no taxes, no penalties. Then we start with physical metals or an asset that we believe is oversold at that time and has that elasticity, just like silver was, right? Like, remember, everyone complained about silver. Everyone complained.
Oh,
Even
they
me kept saying, Mukarram, why are we in silver? Why are we in so much silver? Because it's gonna go. It's gonna go because the math is gonna show when gold goes, it's gonna have like a big catapult effect. It was, how high do you think it'll go? I remember getting an email from a client. I don't know. I don't think silver will go over 50. Yeah, that's what she said. I don't think silver will go 50.
a lot of people said that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Because silver sat there, right? 8 months to a year. It just sat there. That's why you need to work with people like us, because we've been through this, right? The ups and downs, and we've gone through different recession periods, and how do we hedge ourselves and hedge accounts. So once we grow that, and with God's blessings and God's grace, if we can get into the right place, right position size, and that's why don't just move a small amount of money at the right time. Move the right amount of money at the right time so you can get that right, increase in net worth. Now, once that's done, then you can start doing, like, for example, going into some passive income producing real estate, right? Whether it's inside an IRA or outside an IRA. Then you can start getting some income coming in while you're pursuing your life, or you're pursuing some of your freedoms that you want to enjoy, or some dreams that you've always had. But you can't, like, I have some clients who come to me and say, well, I have 200,000. I want to do real estate. Well, you can't do real estate with 200,000. You have to first grow it. And then, but that's what's nice about a self-directed IRA or alternative assets, because we can do all of these assets within an IRA or outside of an IRA and then grow it, and I know a lot of people don't like talking about cryptocurrency because it's been a horrendous 8 months for cryptocurrency. But guess what, Tiger? I love, in the next 2 months, cryptocurrency will be bottoming, and I love, love, love where cryptocurrency is. Everyone hates it right now because it's been horrendous for 8.5 months. And that's one of the reasons, especially when you look at the cycles in crypto, by the time August comes in, it'll be prime time for crypto, right? And that's where you get net worth appreciation. If you put the right amount of money, like 500,000 or 200,000, and then suddenly, crypto can go 3x, 4x, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to be married to that. You don't have to think your life is going to be in crypto. But what I'm trying to say is it could be the next big mover while metals are consolidating, right? Or something else is happening. And then again, we'll get out of the crypto and then we'll go into something else. And that's kind of how we'll do this, right? So I'm not saying, I just gave that as an example simply because of how bad it's been in the crypto market for the last 8 months or 9 months, while silver's been going up and gold's been going up. But that's kind of how you have to look ahead and figure out, okay, have I gotten an outsized return in my money? If I've gotten an outsized return in my money, it's time to take profit and move it into another place, whatever it is, right? Real estate, crypto, land, whatever, agriculture, copper, AI, rare earths, right? Rare earth minerals, rare earth metals, that can give you the next outsized return. You cannot keep holding on to 200, 300% returns because you're going to give up a lot of it.
That makes sense. I've actually seen that. As I've told a lot of my viewers, I've dabbled a little bit in miners. My best performers has been uranium. And
Yeah, that's one of that's needed for AI energy generation,
And I've seen it go up 2, sometimes 3-fold. And not knowing everything I hoped for some further increase. And recently, over the last number of weeks, everything's come down, including the uranium. And uranium is still better than the rest of them, but they've all come down.
I have a simple rule, okay, and I think a lot of your audience will appreciate this. So I have actually, it's one rule, but it comes from a root belief, okay? So the first belief is, especially as a trader, right? I believe that money is limitless, okay? So you can't quantify money, because if you begin to quantify money, here's the problem. You'll take a $5,000 profit thinking it's a lot when that $5,000 profit could go to 50,000, okay?
Mhm.
That's one problem, right? Or if you are worried about $500 loss because you quantified your money, or a $2,000 loss, you take out a position, and then 2 weeks later it's up 10 grand, but you took it out because you quantified the money. So that's my first rule. Do not quantify money, because when you quantify money, you'll be in the shackles of poverty, okay? Make decisions from there. Now, the second thing, because a lot of people say, well, if I quantify money, Mukarram, then do I never get out? No, that's not true. Here's my way to kind of resolve that, right? Mentally, how you resolve that. If you make more than what people make in a year in one trade, take it out. Take the profit. Okay. That's how I define it. It's like an outsized movement. So, for example, let's take the silver folks, for example, right? If someone bought 1,000 ounces of silver at $35, that's 35,000, right? When silver went to $120, or let's say even $100, now that's 100 grand. So now you've made about $60,000 or more on that one trade, right? And that movement happened from October to February. That's some people's salary in certain parts of the country. Not in California where I live. That's not enough to live here, right? But I'm just saying $60,000 is someone's salary. But let's say if you had 2,000 ounces of silver, that's $120,000. That's probably most people's salary around the average, like most states. That's even higher than what most people make, right? So if you made that in one trade from October to February, even though you held it for maybe a year before that, it's time to take it out. Because when you get an outsized return, like you said, if you have a 2x or a 3x, don't wait for a 10x.
Exactly what my prior interviewee, Jesse Day from Commodity Culture, said. He said it almost exactly the same way you did.
Okay, great. I mean, I think that's kind of a professional way of approaching how to manage your risk, right? Because, and I always say this, a lot of people think risk management is just loss protection. No, one major part of risk management is profit taking. Profit taking is also risk management.
It's a lesson a lot of us still have yet to learn.
Hopefully we can help everyone together.
I think you can. I mean, look at what you did with me. When I first met you, I had retirement money that I'd earned at a hospital that gives benefits, and it sat in money markets for years. And then I found it, and it pretty much didn't do anything in a couple decades. And when I met up with you, you got me involved in some gold and mainly silver. And then when I became of age, I took it all out and actually had a nice little profit from it. So those of you who are watching the channel, I've actually experienced from Mukarram's expertise. So I'm speaking from personal knowledge, and I want you to go down to the information in the description below and consider contacting his company. My next question is, regarding retirement, are you still more of a person who favors the IRA and precious metals at depositories as opposed to the fiat system? I think the answer is going to be yes from what you said, but I wanted to get it clear for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of peel some layers there and give a better kind of fundamental understanding of where the economy is going, right? Not just fiat and precious metals. I think people should understand we are in, and even when I was on the Yankee show a few times, different shows, I've said we're in a commodity super cycle. And nobody really understood that until gold started going up the way it did, when it broke 2,500, and then silver started breaking 50, then they got it. But it's still in the infant stages for a lot of other commodities, right? Like other rare earth metals and copper and, even silver, after this correction could go up significantly, and platinum. So what I'm saying is you want to think of this as alternative assets, not just precious metals. Alternative assets are going to be the choice for this super cycle, and physical alternative assets are going to be great in terms of growing your net worth over time, right? So if you're in the stock market that has gone up, pretty much with no breather for the last 15 years or so, it is a good time to take profit, especially if you can move it into another IRA without paying taxes or penalties. So there's no capital gains, right? You just liquidate, and then you go, it's a direct transfer from your existing IRA into a self-directed IRA. No penalties, no taxes, nothing, no capital gains at all, right? So that's a big deal if you can do it, because you're getting out at the high of one market, and then you're getting into another market, even if you choose gold and silver after it's corrected, right? But even some other markets that haven't even run yet. So that's how we help you. The other thing to understand is this alternative story is not going away. Alternative story is not going away in the global economy is because we're seeing a shift in mentality when it comes to major institutional buying and sovereign wealth fund buying of physical metals, especially gold, right? And how they're investing in rare earth sectors. Like, for example, Saudi Arabia just invested in CRML, which is Greenland, in Greenland, and their Tanbreeze refinery, Tanbreeze, like the project, which is to do with all critical metals. Okay. And then even the Trump administration started Project Volt, $2 billion plus, right? Or towards putting money into critical metal companies, right? One of my big trades this year was USAR. USAR went from $8 to $40, based on
Wow.
the announcement. Yeah, I was in that trade, USAR. There's another company called CRML that I'm looking at. I love it. I'm building some positions in there. Full disclosure, that way people don't think I'm just pitching it or anything like that. I like it simply because it's in Greenland. They have one of the best rare earth metals for the AI sector, and it's run very well. Tanbreeze is the project, and Saudi Arabia just invested significantly in that project. So that's a sovereign, like PIF, which is their public investment fund, right? That's sovereign wealth funds going into rare earth metals, right? So that's why this alternative story is not going away, but don't chase something that might have gone up 300%. Find the ones that haven't moved yet, and that's where we can help you.
That's exactly what I was leaning towards. Is there anything new that you would like the viewers to know about your business?
Yeah, I think first, obviously they should know that the name change has happened, right? It's Bullionite Asset Group for the alternative assets investment firm. But the next thing that I would like people to know is I have this initiative that I'm doing, especially as I'm seeing the markets, as I see things going on. It's called Beyond AI, okay? And I want to explain this. Over the last 2 years, people have lost thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs, right? Like 15,000 jobs at Meta and Twitter and X and different companies just cutting jobs so much, right? Everywhere. So many people losing jobs, and highly educated people, right? And then they have IRAs, they have 401ks, and they should realize, and not just them, but the majority of the investing population should understand, what does this AI revolution really mean? Is it putting money behind AI data centers? Is it putting money behind AI semiconductor companies? Yes, a lot of it is gone up significantly. They're like in bubble territories, right? The way I'm approaching it is I'm fusing the alternative sector with AI. So I'm looking at what are the alternative assets that are needed for the AI sector. So it's like the resources that you need for this AI revolution, because this AI revolution is not going away, by the way, right? It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's why we're calling it Beyond AI. And here's how I'm going to sum it up. There are two industries that will never be taken over by AI, right? One is food. AI cannot replace food, can't do it. And the second is shelter. AI can never replace shelter. And the third is AI can never run without rare earth metals and everything that's needed for it. And that's why in our Beyond AI kind of initiative, what we're looking at is projects that are to do with agricultural projects, right? Where, I was in Malaysia last year. We were looking at a major avocado farm there, because in that area of the world, fruits and they export so much. So when you invest in land that produces food, or you invest in food, the inventory, now AI can take over the logistics of the manufacturing, but it can't produce the fruit, right? It can't produce the food. So that's why that's one big sector that we're going into in terms of Beyond AI. And the second is real estate, because shelter can never, ever be replaced by AI. AI can have AI agents. You can have AI calculations be done for profitability. AI can hook up everything, but realistically, shelter's shelter, right? So we're looking at, just like we've been doing real estate for a long time, since 2012 as an alternative asset in Florida and different parts of the United States, and internationally, right? I think that'll be big. So we look at Thailand, and right now I have feet on the ground in Bonaire, an island. It's a small Danish island, right? We're looking at for Airbnb purposes. Then we're looking at Portugal, Madeira, Portugal. Like there's a property that we've gotten there, and that's because as time goes by, the US dollar and how you can leverage that internationally is going to be bigger, and there's a way to do that. And so that's the second part of Beyond AI, real estate, because it's not going to go away. You need shelter. One of the interesting things is, like in Florida, it seems like people can't even afford to buy a house anymore, right? Because they don't get insurance.
Sure.
And that's another thing that's happening in our country. If you notice, like companies don't want to insure home buyers. So if you can get in through like a LLC and then you own property as an investment, then you can rent it out. Rentals could become big, right? That's why we were talking about that too, Tiger, right? Some ideas for you. The other thing, like we talked about, is rare earths. So I had one of our individuals go to Brazil. He just came back from Brazil. I'm looking at some mines, some rare earth metals mines, or rare earth metal inventories. So this is going to be a big deal. And that's the expansion or the scaling of the company, looking beyond AI into into sectors that cannot be replaced by AI, but AI will beg for, right? And
Sure.
that's kind of where the big money will be made.
That makes a lot of sense. I know we didn't do any charts today. I was thinking maybe you wanted to do charts on a future video.
Yeah, I don't think we should do charts today because then if there's some interest, if people really like, some of this might sound a little over, complicated. So once we understand that, then we can go from there, right?
That works. So how would people be able to get a hold of you and utilize your services?
Well, it's very easy, just like anytime. So I have an executive assistant. Her name is Crystal Schonviesner. Then we have an admin assistant, Nicole Rosenthal. She's amazing as well. All the contact information for them is there. Crystal is the best person to reach to, schedule an appointment with me. Then you'll see a phone number directly for the main line for the company that I'm sure, Tiger, you'll put that in. My direct line is 949-200-7047. That's my office direct line. I won't pick up that all the time, but you can leave a message and then Crystal or I will get back to you. That's kind of the best ways. And then my email address is mm@bullioniteassetgroup.com. Okay. mm@bullioniteassetgroup.com. And Tiger will give you all that information so people can have the best ways to quickly reach me and set up an appointment either through Crystal or Nicole or one of my other associates in the company. And then I will be the one will talk to them,
Sounds perfect.
And also our website, bullioniteassetgroup.com, has a lot of information there. Really good stuff.
Good. I'll start looking at it. Well, everyone, I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to especially thank my guest, Mukarram Mawjood. His contacts, like we said, will be in the description below. Feel free to talk to him, Crystal, and Nicole. I've talked to all three of them. I'm telling you from personal knowledge, you won't be disappointed. They've been a big help to me, as I've said just before, and I'm sure they'll be a big help to you if you decide to use them. So I want to thank you, Mukarram, for coming to the channel, and I hope we can do this again in the not distant future.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Tiger. It was great kind of interacting with you and seeing you launch this channel, and I love supporting other stackers. So congratulations and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. Tiger Stacker out.